This episode is sponsored by VIVARAYS, the only eyewear company that truly understands your biology. VIVARAYS are advanced blue light glasses designed with circadian biology in mind. Unlike typical blue blockers, they filter light in harmony with your body's natural rhythms, helping you sleep deeper, feel more energized, and protect your long-term health. We love companies that support biology-backed wellness, and VIVARAYS is leading the way. Use code QUANTUMHEALTHY at vivarays.com to save 15% and support your sleep, focus, and natural energy the way nature intended. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Quantum Healthy podcast. I'm Andeea, a licensed addiction counselor, and along with my co-host, Laura Kissmann, a quantum nutritionist, we will be inviting expert scientists, clinicians, survivors, and thrivers to distill their pearls of wisdom attained from applying quantum biology to their fields of research and everyday lives. Our goal is to bring you easy to understand principles and practices about the study of light, water, and magnetism so you can take your health into your own hands. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Quantum Healthy podcast. We have today a dear friend with us. Shirley Plant is our guest. I'm going to introduce Shirley, but Shirley, I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So everyone who is not familiar with Shirley, she is a nutritionist and cookbook author and a wellness advocate who understands firsthand the challenges of living with chronic disease. She's diagnosed many years ago with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, multiple food and environmental allergies, chronic Lyme disease, mast cell activation syndrome, and severe insomnia, which we will touch on today a lot in her story. And she has navigated the complexities of these conditions through her personal experience and extensive journey. And for the past 2 years, Shirley has really studied quantum healing under leading practitioners worldwide. And this journey allowed her to uncover the root causes of her chronic insomnia and finally healing from over 30 years of sleepless nights. And now she's dedicated to helping others reclaim their restful sleep. And through her Facebook group, Healing Insomnia Naturally, her 7-day online challenge to sleeping naturally, and her ebook titled Finally Asleep, a quantum approach to healing insomnia naturally. We will touch on all these things that she offers, but just welcome again. We're so excited to have you share your story today.
Thank you.
Shirley, we know each other well, and I've been given strict instructions not to make this too long, but I do have to do a personal intro here. I've come to the conclusion that you and I are quantumly entangled. We met, well, actually, no. I found your book as a young holistic nutritionist. Well, maybe not young, but new in my own career. And I found your book. I have it here, Finally Food I Can Eat. I understand you have another one, a paleo one as well, Finally Paleo Food I Think I Can Eat. And I knew about you because you had done these wellness summits. One was called, I think, the Real Food Summit. Is that right? Yeah. And then you did a menopause summit. There may have been even more.
Yeah,
But
I did 2 Eat Real Food health summits where I interviewed
yes.
doctors from around the world, and then I did a menopause summit. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, ton of work and huge respect for that. And then I think we met officially the first time because you reached out to me because I did an oxalate workshop. And the interesting, just quantum entanglement, we just interviewed one of the experts on oxalates. So still growing the knowledge on oxalates, and it plays a role. It's very interesting in terms of the charge that oxalates have on the body that we learned in that interview. But then there was a wellness convention and you were this energetic. I remember you ran out and you were helping all these people with this chair. And I'm actually sitting in this chair, moving and dancing. We both are in this core chair, if you can see this on YouTube. Then we worked together at a company called Core Nutrition, and we helped people with suffering from motor vehicle accidents. That was an interesting journey. We dabbled in Juice Plus and Box Life and various things. But I have to share a highlight moment in my nutrition career when you probably don't even remember this, but you asked me to drive the visionary and lead actor Anthony Golay to the Ottawa premiere of a movie called Overfed and Undernourished. And it was a delightful movie, but it was just an honor to drive him and meet him. He's a very interesting man, enlightened person. So Anthony Golay, if you're listening to this, that was a cherished memory. So But today we have so much to talk about with you because you've been through so much with your health and you've explored so much. You've talked to so many experts. So we today want to pick your brain about a few things. One of them is just, well, I could talk, I want to just touch just very quickly because it's quantum biology related, but you have struggled in your environment to clean it up. Can you tell us a little bit about that before we head on to food?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, years ago I started learning about the environment and non-native EMFs, and we got a environmental biologist in, checked the house, and unbeknownst to me, our EMFs were off the charts. And that was playing a real role in my health. I was having 10 to 12 migraines a month. I didn't realize that you know, non-wireless mouse and those Wi-Fi keyboards and having Wi-Fi, I just had no concept that something that you buy in a store, you have your router downstairs, could really be playing such a huge role in your health. And so we changed. We went back to a landline. We got rid of Wi-Fi. We have Ethernet cables. And then we dug deeper. We found mold in our walls in our house, which was, again, playing a huge role in my health. So we remediated the whole house. And at that time, it did make a difference for me. I think it was unfortunate that we didn't get all the mold out of the house. And so that then transitioned into it colonizing in my body. And we don't have to get into that, but that made me very, very sick. But yeah, certainly cleaning up the environment, because everything we're reading now with the mitochondria, and thanks to you, Laura, I'm reading the Mitochondriac Manifesto by R.D. Lee. And, we talk about the environment that makes you sick is not the environment that's going to make you well. But it's very difficult when you have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on your health throughout the years to all of a sudden think, oh, I have to move. Oh, where do you go where there's no EMFs? Where do you go when your body is stuck in cell danger response and I can only sit in a car for 15 minutes before I pass out or I throw up because of the motion? And I think there's a lot of people stuck in their health journey. And I've always wanted to help those people because I've never wanted anybody to be where I have been, because you just feel so hopeless. And I think education is key. And I learned from you, and I learned from Andeea, and I learned now from quantum health practitioners, because you tuned me into that. And it all makes so much sense. The environment in us and the environment around us. And, I know you're going to ask me this question because that plays a role in our nervous system too, which is huge.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And we are gonna talk about the light environment. We'll get there as well. So hold that thought. Thank you for that. You actually shared more than it's so good to hear that people have these resources like building biologists. Unfortunately, they're few and far between. I would dearly love to be one, but it's, costs a ton of money to take the course and time, and then just
You have all the
studying
tools too,
and have all
right?
the tools. I have a few. So I do this for my clients to just bring awareness. And it's really helpful. But yeah, I know you needed more than what I could have done,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And with the
Yeah. Because
mold
it
as well.
really is a deep dive. You need someone really knowledgeable
Yes.
and I think there's a lot of people with complex chronic illness that don't realize that their environment is playing a role. And maybe, unfortunately, they're just going to their regular GP, or, they're going to the endocrinologist or the neurologist and they don't look at the whole body.
I know. I know. Okay, let's shift a little bit, because you've been this author, of food books that have helped a lot of people. What prompted you to write the book, Finally Food I Can Eat?
I think again, my struggle with knowing what to eat. I went to a dietitian and I had gone to an environmental doctor and found out all my food sensitivities, and I had a few food allergies, and they're totally different. And all she told me was what I couldn't eat. So I came home with this list of all these things that I couldn't eat. And I thought, well, what can I eat?
Mhm.
And so I was really eating just single foods. And, when I had people over, I was making my meal and their meal. And, if I went on a date, his meal, my meal. Like, it was just so separate. And to me, it wasn't healthy.
Plating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a great environmental doctor, and I would share with her that I was starting to get into the kitchen. I was, learning what other foods were. Back then, this was a long time ago. I'm kind of old. This was a long time ago. I was
Old
in
is
my
relative.
20s. Old is relative, yeah. But I was in my 20s, and, when you would say quinoa back then, or agar, or even millet or hemp, people would look at you and go, what? Is that a food? So I had to find all those foods and learn about gluten-free. Now we have a whole, goodness, industry, which I don't like at all because it's all fake food. But back then I had to learn what was free of gluten and, free of sugar, and what were additives and what were colorings. And
Mhm.
so I started to get into the kitchen. And at that time I had gotten really, really sick. So I was on disability. So I there wasn't a lot in my life. So I just loved cooking. And I took a lot of my mom's homemade recipes and tweaked them to me. And I kind of thought, with talking to Dr. Armstrong, my environment, that there were other people out there like me. I wasn't the only one. There were unfortunately more and more people like this. And I thought to myself, what if I put these recipes into a book? And it took me a long time, Laura. It took me
Oh,
7 years. It took because I had no energy. I mean, I think I have no energy now. I had tons of energy then.
yeah.
But, learning how to use flax as an egg substitute, or bananas in a muffin, and taking sugar out, and I couldn't have eggs and I couldn't have dairy, and just learning all that took some trial and error, and I threw out a lot of food. And so, yeah, then it just fell into place. I just put it together. I found a publisher. We co-published, I went on TV. I chatted about it. I did breakfast TV. It was so fun. And really, to date, I think it's been one of the highlights of my life, because I used to get so many emails from people saying, especially moms, thank you, Shirley. My son now has a birthday cake, or he can have a brownie, or and I just, it kind of wells me up. Like, I just think it's so not fair for kids and people to not be able to eat fun foods. And so I wanted healthy alternatives, but that, you could serve to your mom and your dad and your sister and your brother, and they wouldn't go,
Yeah.
they'd go,
I just had a birthday, double birthdays in our family, and made a carrot cake, a dairy-free, gluten-free carrot cake. And people were
yeah.
saying, this is not only the best carrot cake I've had in my life, but I can't believe it's dairy-free, gluten-free. Yeah. And then just to getting back to your calling yourself old. And, I say it's relative. It's really interesting is I have been talking to young kids who are, they're abusing what we're going to speak to here shortly in terms of blue light, people that are sleeping or, are working overnights. And I find myself telling them that you are trading time for money. And I just need you to know that I need you to start planning how you're going to get out of this job, because I want to say to them, you're aging. You're growing older faster than you should, by,
Yeah,
being abusing
yeah, for
your
sure.
light. But okay, that brings us to thank you. But just thank you for that
Yeah, yeah.
little
And then I
background
just, and
on
then
food.
I followed a more paleo diet, and then that introduced me to paleo recipes. But for me, a lot of them I couldn't have because they all had eggs in them, or they all had almonds in them. And so I thought again, okay, what about the people that want to do paleo that can't do, eggs and almonds? And so,
Mhm.
so then hence came finally paleo food I can eat.
Right.
Sort of a bit of a theme with the finally.
And then I don't know about you, but the whole oxalate, like it's funny, we met at that oxalate workshop, but now trying to weave that into,
Exactly.
yeah, things as well. So interesting. We never stop learning is the message for
Never.
everyone listening here right now.
I'd like to just sit on the beach though, Laura, and not learn anything.
I know. You and me both. All right. So no, we have more people to help, and our
Yes,
own
we
health
do.
journeys are still playing out, as
Yeah.
as you know. So okay, so there's been a sleep journey through this whole health journey you've done, and now it's embraced with quantum biology. So we're super excited about that, and that's why we want to interview you today. But could you tell us a little bit about this insomnia journey and maybe to what extreme it's gone and things that you've tried?
Sure. So years ago, when I was not sick, I was a travel agent. And we used to go on these familiarization trips, and you'd go for like 3 or 4 days and you'd see like 50 hotels and, so you could become familiar with and then sell them to people that came into the travel agency. And one year in my very early 20s, we went overseas to England and Scotland. And I think it was actually a longer one. It was like a 7-day trip. And that first night I didn't sleep. And that second night I didn't sleep. And by the third night, I was freaking out because, of course, we're up early and we're on the bus and we're seeing things. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? And it was really interesting because, someone would say, well, just have a shot of booze, and I didn't drink booze back then and I really didn't want to do that. And then someone else was like, go take this sleeping pill. And I'm like, I've never taken a sleeping pill. I don't want to do that. I didn't sleep for 7 nights. And I came home and I was a bit of a basket case and I went to the doctor and she just said, well, I'm sure it'll, maybe it's because you were traveling. That was the first clue, but she didn't click in on that jet lag. And it just didn't improve. And then that was the whole time when I was being diagnosed with chronic fatigue. Then I was in a car accident, fibromyalgia. So there was a lot of stuff going on, finding out about food insensitivities. A lot was going on. But now that I understand the light part and quantum, I just think I suffered a severe jet lag, and it just then with everything else magnified. And so I went back to the doctor, and of course she put me on a sleeping pill, and she said, try this for six days, and worked. It's like, great, I'm sleeping. Hallelujah. And then I was like, well, that's the end of the prescription. So now what? So I kind of got a little back into a sleep wake cycle, but if anything stressful was happening, or I don't know, I just was not sleeping well, but I would sleep the odd time. And so, then I got a prescription for, the odd night. If you don't sleep, take this. So that's what I did. And as you know, when you take sleeping meds, you usually need more and more and more. And that's what happened, because by then I was very ill with fibro and chronic fatigue, and you need to sleep to get better. And so, the doctor's like, well, then I guess you need them every night. So, and then new drugs came out. So you try a new sleeping pill, and then you try something else, and then you try something else. And I mean, it was a Band-Aid. We weren't getting to the root cause. And it's unfortunate that whether GPs don't have time or they don't want to, we don't get to the root cause in allopathic medicine. We just say, here, try this, come back if it doesn't work. Try this. If it doesn't work, come back. And certainly, chronic fatigue and fibro, I mean, there are sleep issues there, right? And so the next thing you know, you're addicted. And then in my mid-30s, I just was like, okay, I'm getting off of these, which was the worst mistake really of my life. Please, no one do that without medical supervision. It was the worst experience. The withdrawals were unimaginable. And for a while, I was able to sleep, and then I was back into needing something. And then I went into early menopause, and that made it even worse. And by this time, I had tried sleep supplements. So a range of the valerian and the melatonin, which gave me huge anxiety. And, then, a few years ago, all of a sudden we're looking at medical marijuana, And before that, I did cognitive behavioral therapy. I did psychiatric, go to see a doctor, talk about your feelings, see if that can help. What else did we do? Yeah, meds, supplements, hypnotherapy, cognitive behavior therapy, medical marijuana, hemp. Yeah, I think I tried it all. And then I would pull all-nighters because I lost my GP and I got a new GP, and she just said, just stay up all night, stay up all night, you'll start to sleep. No,
What
all
did
that
that
did
do?
was that just made my nervous system so that I was literally like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, panic, panic, because I was so exhausted
Mhm.
and I was sick that my adrenals couldn't handle that. And so I ended up in severe adrenal fatigue because she just said, nope, stay up.
Right.
You'll sleep. Your body will sleep. Not this body.
Mhm.
No way.
And what's
So
what's
yeah,
your lifestyle like at that point? Are you in front of a computer, multiple
not,
screens? Or, yeah.
no, not a lot. No, all through
Okay.
my, like, yes, it's certainly in my early 20s. Yeah, of course, as a travel agent, you're in front of screens. But
Right.
then in my 30s, I was on disability. So I was at home. I couldn't afford a computer. I didn't have a computer.
Oh, okay.
And then at one point I did have a computer,
Yeah.
but I wasn't working. So, I mean, I was in the kitchen actually doing recipes, and, I was out during the day. But because I didn't fall asleep well at night, I was sleeping in. I never got up before 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
I haven't
Right.
seen a sunrise in 40 years.
Yeah. Okay.
I've seen more sunrises in the last year and a half than I have in my whole life. So, that tells you something. And, when you're not well and you can't do a lot of things, you just lie around and watch TV at night, right?
Gosh, I know that one time, I visited you a few times. We're always exchanging things, books and stuff. And we were both into Juice Plus at the time. And you had the big, the big
Yeah.
tree and I remember walking in thinking, oh, that's a lot of blue light because I was learning about blue light. And
Yeah.
and then you had because you've been writing books and doing summits, right? You
Yeah.
had
So I did
double
have the 3 screens. Yes.
three
That was
screens. I remember
a few
thinking,
years
oh,
ago.
that can't be good. But I really at
But
the
I didn't
time,
know that. I
and I
didn't know
didn't
that.
really know at that time either. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm
yeah. And I had
so
my tower garden, which was great because I was growing veggies, which is, it's great to have a tower garden, but you're right not to have those lights on at night when you have insomnia.
so I'm so pleased to look at you right now and see that you've got blue blockers on. So and
I do.
hopefully some software on the screen too, dimming
Yes, I
them.
do now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay. Well,
This is just such a, I mean, I just want to say so people understand that Shirley is sharing an extreme case of circadian rhythm disruption and over a long period of time. So I just want to, we haven't said that, and like that is what is going on here. So that is what we are talking about. And also, insomnia is something that is post-acute withdrawal symptom when it comes to addiction. But your onset was like way before that, but then layering on to the insomnia the withdrawal symptoms that you were experiencing when you were getting off of all those sleep meds, like just wham 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 with the, oh my gosh, Shirley. Yeah, go ahead, Laura. I know you were
okay.
something
No,
else.
I'm really glad you shared that because I didn't make that connect. Oh, I made the circadian rhythm disruption, but with the pause, the post-acute withdrawal syndrome, of course you would have more symptoms after being on those sleep drugs. Interesting. And then of course yeah, then there was medical marijuana. I don't know if there was, coming off of that could have
Yeah, I
affecting.
couldn't really do it because at the time I didn't know I had mast cell activation syndrome, and that made my mast cells just go absolutely crazy. Like I just burned like crazy with medical marijuana because one, we didn't know where it was from, right? Is it organic? Is it sprayed? That can play a huge role in people's health, right?
Surely a lot of people listening may not know what MCAS or mast cell activation syndrome. Can you just summarize that so we can all really understand what you've been through?
That's a hard thing to say. Mast cell activation syndrome is a condition where we have mast cells everywhere in our body. And for some reason, they just go a little bit crazy and they secrete over 1,000 different mediators of inflammation. A lot of people get rashes, skin conditions, a lot of times it's related to histamine reactions, but not necessarily. You know, for me, it is histamine, but it's many other things. You know, like for example, fillers in supplements, mycocrystalline. I cannot do mycocrystalline, and that is in practically every single supplement. We could talk about oxalates and sulfates, and but more or less your mast cells are sensing danger, and so they are secreting these inflammatory cascades 24/7. And sometimes mast cell blockers can help, and other times they don't do a lot. They're not doing a lot for me. I've tried many, but it's figuring out why you have MCAS. And for me, we think it was the mold in the house. It can be different reasons, but there's quite a tie to mold and mycotoxins in the body that the cells are sensing there is a danger. And yeah, so that's not
Yeah.
very
No,
scientific, but that's to
no,
me.
good enough. Girl, that was fantastic. Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed from I was actually just in your neighborhood last 2 nights ago, and you live very close to some massive, like the big massive power lines. And I always wonder, could that, because we know
Yeah.
like mold grows better in radiation, in
Yes.
Wi-Fi. We're finding that out in apparently in Chernobyl.
Mm.
There's mold that's actually helping to clean up things growing in the post radiation. But I sometimes worry about that. And I dream about you coming to my cottage where there's no cell towers nearby and no Wi-Fi.
That's what we're trying to find for this summer, is somewhere at least to go to try and give it a
Yes.
whirl and just see if, because yeah, we do have hydro lines behind us, and that certainly is playing a role for sure. And yet, we're on 8 acres of land here, so you would think that, oh, all the trees, but no, just doesn't.
Yeah, it's pervasive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, let's talk quantum biology.
Okay.
Can you just paint the picture? Because I want to talk a little bit about your ebook, but with insomnia, there's some hormones and neurotransmitters in the body that are really key players. And wondering if you could talk a little bit about melatonin for us and serotonin and where we get those and why they're key players.
Wow, where to begin? Yeah, so you mean thanks to you, I started to listen to Carrie Bennett. And I learned all this information that I guess I learned it in high school. I don't really remember. I guess we did. But that there are key times of the day that when you are out in natural light, we turn on a whole host of tasks, of hormones, of neurotransmitters, as you said, whether it be out at sunrise or more or less an hour later when the sun is, at 10 degrees with this beautiful UVA rise. And for me, I had no idea that's really what our bodies need to make serotonin, tryptophan, melatonin. And it was just such an explosion of information, Laura, that, it really took me a while for it to sink in. And it was probably, again, listening to you and every now and talking to you and you saying quantum. And I kept saying, what the frick is quantum? Like, what is she talking about? And just, again, listening to Carrie Bennett. Then I finally took some of her courses. And I just started doing what she told people to do. Yes, the science is there, and that's why I wrote my ebook, for those like you, Laura, like the science. I'm not a science girl at all. I just want to know what to do to feel better, what to do to sleep. Okay, it's great that being out in morning light and syncing with natural light, it doesn't have to be the sun, it can be cloudy, it can be raining, it can be snowy, but that light has to be, that natural light has to be that first light that you're naked eyes see, so that you turn on these neurotransmitters, which, as you say, make everything we need to be healthy. And when I was writing the book, I realized that so much of the depression and the anxiety and the insomnia were keyed to that mismatch, or as you would say, the circadian disruption of not getting out at morning light. And you asked about melatonin, and you asked about
Serotonin.
serotonin. Sorry, yeah, that it's just and you probably could, I'm thinking that you could probably explain it in a more simplified way than I can, even though I did, you know what I mean, even though I did write the book, because
You know what? I'll draw you back to the equation. Yeah, of tryptophan in the
yeah,
eye,
exactly.
right? And making serotonin
Yeah, exactly, making
in
serotonin
UVA rise. Yeah.
in UVA rise. But I think so many people, like, I think people sort of know, okay, yeah, you make serotonin, that's your feel good, that gets you going in the
Mhm.
morning.
Right.
Our cortisol goes up in the morning and then it should come down. But I think what people don't realize, and that's why I wrote the book for insomnia, is that melatonin, that sleep hormone, that master antioxidant is so powerful, and you need that morning light to
Exactly.
be able to make those neurotransmitters. Even, I mean, what do we call it? Do we call it morning melatonin? So that at night, when you block
Mhm.
the artificial light, you will then make nocturnal melatonin.
I
And
often call it pineal, the pineal
pineal, thank you.
melatonin,
That's the word I was looking for.
right? Versus the subcellular, like the
Yeah,
mitochondrial melatonin.
subcellular, the
Yeah.
pineal and the cellular, exactly.
Surely you're on the right
Um,
track too with the morning light. So the morning light's going to initiate the mitochondrial melatonin that
yeah.
you make there, and that's why the morning light's so important. But at nighttime, yeah, it's the pineal melatonin that's released to do the job that it needs to do. So yeah, and a lot of people don't make those connections because they're thinking melatonin is a nighttime thing.
Yeah, and they just think it's going to be made at night no matter what. And for many of us, it's not. And, now that I know what melatonin does, and that it's not just a sleep hormone, that it's anti-aging, it's anti-cancer, it's, you know, anti-inflammatory. I mean, it helps us to get rid of those bad cells with autophagy and apoptosis. And to me, it's just, yeah, so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. I think a lot of us have changed our day. People that can in any small way, whether it's opening the windows on the way to work, or for me, I don't take clients before 10 because that morning I'm out for a walk in UVA rise, or like I know you, Shirley, you're outside. You may not be walking, you don't have the energy yet,
Yeah.
but it's gonna come. I pray it's
Yeah,
gonna come.
and I think it's so important, because I think you're right, because who I don't know who will be listening. I hope everybody will be listening, but I don't know who will be listening to this interview. There's so many people like me that are so sick, and maybe they have cancer, and maybe they're bedridden. And as you say, Laura, if you could open a window, if you could just sit on your back deck, or if you have a balcony,
Right.
that's better than
Yep.
not doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
We
And then there's those that are great and have energy like you guys, and can go for a walk during UVA rise, which is
Mhm.
even better for your mood and anxiety and so many of those
Mhm.
issues that people are dealing with these days. I think especially after COVID, because everybody was on their screens.
And some are still on their screens, you know? Well, no, and even like, more schooling on screens and more Zooms and, yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. Okay, so you've actually touched on a lot of the essentials. Is there any essentials for curing insomnia, or, you know, I don't know, a top three list of things that you've done? Like tell us about where you're at now with insomnia.
I don't have insomnia anymore.
You don't.
No, I've slept every single night naturally. I'd say for over a year. And that's never happened well, I got insomnia in my 20s, so
Oh
I'm
my
on
God.
60. So yeah. So to me,
Wow.
that's a pretty strong indicator that circadian rhythm plays a huge role in your sleep. Because I think, and what I noticed, Laura, so I started doing this slowly a year and a half, 2 years ago. But what I didn't know, because I hadn't taken Carrie's courses, was I don't have them with me. Maybe you have a pair. I was just wearing the red tone blockers at night.
Mm.
So I was doing that. But because I was so sick and I was on so many drugs, I wasn't getting up until 11 o'clock in the morning. So I was missing those key hues of light that, as you say, we turn on these neurotransmitters, tryptophan, serotonin. So, and I remember a doctor I was working with said, you have to get out at sunrise. And I was like, how do I get up at 6 o'clock when I'm not falling asleep till 3 o'clock? But when I started to do that, and I had to set my alarm, and I literally crawled outside, Laura. I had no energy. I crawled outside.
Oh my God.
And I just sort of sat there like this, at whatever. I think at that time it was 6:30. I don't know what time of year it was. Was that spring? I don't remember.
Oh, and June here is 5:30 sunrise. It's horrible.
Yeah, I know. But what started to happen when I did all the key things that I write about in my book in chapter 3, sunrise, UVA rise,
Mhm.
if you can do UVB rise, great, sunset, blue blockers. When
Mhm.
I started to do all of those, I all of a sudden would say to my husband at 9:30 at night, I'm tired. And I started yawning. I had not yawned probably in 35 years. That was key. And I went up to bed and I had my little pills beside my bed. And the next morning I would wake up and there were my little pills. And I was like, oh my God, I fell asleep. And I thought, oh, that's just a fluke. Tomorrow night I won't sleep, me and my
You're just conditioned.
positivity. And the next night I slept and I was like, oh, my little pills. Okay. And what I noticed was, I think actually, Laura, I started it in the fall. So I was sleeping and all of a sudden, like at Christmas, I was sleeping. And then, January hits us and Laura and I are in Ottawa and there's like no light and it's -20 and kind of sort of I was going out for sunrise still for like 5 minutes
It's
instead
not
of
very motivating. No.
30 minutes, 5 minutes in -20,
Killer.
And the odd night, Laura, I would be like, oh, I'm not sleeping. And so again, there was that huge connection to light because I wasn't really getting the light.
You were getting the daylight.
Exactly.
That is.
Exactly. So then ding, 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 all of a sudden I'm like, January fall goes by, February, we get those nice sunny, cold February days. And I literally, and I'm upstairs in the bedroom with the window wide open, no screen, you know,
Well,
just
that's a piece. Can I just mention that? The same thing happened this January. We couldn't open our windows. There maybe was it like a thaw or something, or some ice got in there, but we're stuck for about a month there where we can't open our windows.
yeah,
And yeah, you have to get outside.
you
And
have
but
to
if you're
get
not feeling
outside.
well, you can't do it.
Exactly. But you can. Oh, if you can open your windows, get your hair dryer out. Open those windows even for 10 or 15 minutes. And there's something
Uh,
strange about our condo townhome is that when I'm upstairs, I can have that window cranked. It doesn't really get that cold. But if I'm down here and I have the patio door open, it's freezing and this furnace is going crazy. So I got into that habit and my sleep came back just like that.
wow.
So
Oh,
there is such and I want people to hear that because if you have chronic insomnia, and I know I'm asking people to change their lives, but I'm hoping that when they see the results the way I did, I mean, Laura, and Andeea, I would have stood on my head for 12 hours if it enabled me to sleep without pills. I would have done anything. So for me, this was not, I mean, it was hard. As I said, I crawled outside,
mm,
but I just know that not sleeping contributes to so many health conditions.
mhm.
And I just want people to let that sink in, that if there is a way that's so simple, that doesn't cost any money, just get outside at
Mhm.
sunrise and UV hours. And I understand people, I was lucky, not that I'm lucky, I was lucky that I was sick, so I didn't have to go to a job. But if you're at a job and you're driving, as Laura said, open your window, open your sunroof. If you're making your kids lunch, can you crack the window? You know, if you have time to have your coffee or your breakfast outside, please do that. If, you know, there's little tweaks that we can do to help you to still correct your circadian disruption. There's always a way. That's what I want people to know. There's always a way. And for me, it's become a way of life. And I want it to become a way of life for everybody. I know maybe not everybody's there yet or is going to be, but when I have learned what a dysregulated circadian rhythm can do to the body, whether it's cancer, autoimmune, inflammation, I just think everybody needs to hear this information. It's just so important.
You are 100% right. And you know, for you, your precipitating event to get you to change some of these things and these habits was your severe chronic insomnia. And there's people listening where they might not have had their precipitating event, which is going to kick them in the butt basically to change their behaviors. Because that's what we're asking people to do. We are asking you to change a behavior to better your health. And it's not going to be easy, and it can be done in baby steps. And the other layer is that it's so incredibly simple and it's free. They don't have to pay for it. They're like, wait, something that simple like going outside cannot be what is going to fix this big problem. And, you know, when we look at things through the quantum lens, it's all about doing something small and getting a big result. And for you, that was getting the right light environment, super simple, it's free. And was it agonizing at first to change those behaviors? Of course it is. It was for all of us. And we all have done it in small baby steps. And when you habit stack these things, it really compounds your health. It compounds your health. And I think that your story is just going to inspire so many people be because there are people who are experiencing not being able to sleep, and they're feeling all of that internal chaos that happens from not sleeping. Like they know something's wrong, and many are desperate and have tried so many medications and all the things that they're like, well, why not? We hope that's what people are thinking. Well, why not try this simple thing and to see if it works? And yeah, this is just such a remarkable journey you've been on, and I'm so happy that you're in the place you are now to be able to share this, and you wrote this beautiful ebook to share with everyone. It's wonderful. I'll make sure it's in the show notes too for everybody listening, so you'll have easy access to that.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just think that so many people don't realize, because it's not just insomnia. You know, some people say, oh, I don't have insomnia. I fall asleep, but then I wake up at 2 o'clock and I'm awake for the rest of the night. Or, you know, I wake up and I've got tachycardia or a panic attack. And, you know, again, that's cortisol at the wrong time of day because you have a mismatched circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
So it is insomnia, but there's so many other pieces to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so many people think it's just their coffee, which
Yeah,
is playing a role, definitely playing a role.
for
But
sure.
yeah, but they
But
haven't
it's
looked at.
great. I don't know if you've noticed this. I don't know if you were ever a coffee drinker, but so many people say to me that when they do the sunrise and UVA rise, that it's like that slow drip, right, of natural cortisol and the
Mhm.
serotonin. And they don't need their coffee anymore. It wakes them up. The natural light wakes them up, right? They're not, you know, getting up, turning on all the lights and going directly to their computer and going, oh my God, I need my coffee. I can't, you know, well, get outside. Guess what? It's going to wake you up naturally. You're not going to need coffee.
I tell everybody my morning coffee is I force myself. I'm the only one that's allowed to take the compost out because I let it build up, and every morning it's there. So it's a little I'm multitasking, and I go out to the forest. So it takes me 4 minutes, maybe 3 4 minutes, and the cool, a little bit of the cool air, obviously, but I do it grounded if I can, with bare feet in the summer. But that,
In your
after
bikini in the winter. I've seen
my
that.
Yeah, I've toned that down. Yeah, I've toned that down this year, but because I kind of correlated that's too much cortisol
Okay.
in the morning. Yeah, that's a bit actually a mismatch. So, um, yeah, but the light, I was just trying to get as much light on my skin. But yeah. Anyway, what just on the light, one last question before we kind of start to close here. Have you played with Lux at all? I know one of our colleagues, Sarah Kleiner, has added that to her circadian app. Have you played around with it, making sure when the sun does suddenly come out that you're getting out in the brighter sun to get more lux in the day? And does that help? Have you noticed any correlation with deeper sleep or any sleep metrics?
I have because all last summer I would, as I said, would not necessarily made it every sunrise because as you say, Laura, it's so early.
Mm.
But I was out for sure UVA rise and I stayed out until UVB rise and well into it. And those nights were much better sleep. So there is a huge role, I think, in the lux for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, it's gonna
I
be
do.
interesting to see research come out on that.
Yeah, it would be. And I think so many people, I'm glad you brought that up because so many people use the Verilux, the sad lights. And
Hmm.
I used that for years. I'm sorry, I think it made me worse
Well, not all of
because
them are created equal.
such a hard, exactly, that's the wrong lux. And we kind of really didn't touch on, that's artificial light. That's a harsh blue light which is sending that wrong message to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, that SCN. It's telling it,
And and sun, if it's sunlight as a nutrient, it's deficient. It doesn't,
right.
it's missing the other colors, it's missing the infrared, yeah,
Yeah.
the
And there's such
UV.
a key connection when people do that sunrise and UVA rise that people notice that their depression just falls away,
Mhm.
that a sad lamp is not going to do. And it's hard for us in the winter, right, Laura? Because we do lose that UVB for so long, and not everybody has, the money I saved up and I actually got an EMR Tech Krypton that has safe UVA and UVB. So, or can you go away if you can afford it? But I do think it's so important for people to get out in the winter, at
Mhm.
least for the UVA light.
Oh,
I
absolutely. Yeah.
100% agree. I mean, Andeea, you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of sunshine, right?
Yep. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and yeah, we're 45th latitude, so
Yeah.
there's a time when we're not having any UVB. It's back now, but it's low. But yeah, it'll get better slowly but surely. It's been back for like 2, 3 weeks now.
I read the vampire books. I forget what they're called right now, but wasn't
Twilight?
that, yeah, what was it?
Twilight?
Twilight. And wasn't it set in Portland, Oregon?
It was in Forks, Washington, and I've actually been there.
Oh, okay. But there's so much description about how gray it is, and that's where I always picture when
Well,
that's where
we
you
have
are.
beautiful summers. The summer months, they're beautiful. Like, the sun is out today. I'm going to be going right outside as soon as we get done with this podcast,
Nice.
actually, to get some light. But yeah, it is. I grew up in Minnesota, which is the same latitude, and that I was living in before. And yeah, there is. I used to get depressed, and I would call it like I have seasonal affective disorder, and I have noticed that since I've been in this material and studying this stuff for the last, 2.5 years and really been practicing these things, I mean, this might be argued for some, but I'm just going to say it. I think seasonal affective disorder, yes, it's real, but I also think it is circadian rhythm disruption. And if you get the light, even if UVB is out of your environment in the winter or whatever, even when you go outside, the clouds are no match for the sun, y'all. The light's getting through those clouds. And even when you are in the Pacific Northwest and you go outside for sunrise and it's cloudy and misty outside still, it makes a huge difference. And I do not have seasonal affective disorder, and I still live in the same latitude. And I've lived in this latitude pretty much my whole life. And, you know, I lived in New York for 10 years, same. It's like still north, right? It's at the northern states. And it was getting that. And it, you know, has also a lot to do with the lux, with what you were saying, Laura, and with your question. And yeah, I really do feel like the seasonal affective disorder is just circadian rhythm disruption because we tend to be indoors more, or it's cloudy or whatever. And yeah, the sun is gone, but the sun is there. It's behind the clouds. And, you know, we
Mhm.
have to just know some of these things. Like I I asked that question at the beginning when I was learning this stuff. I'm like, well, what if it's cloudy outside? Then what do I do? I thought I had to go look for the sunrise. And no, we just need to go outside. Like if you can see the sunrise and the sunset and you have a beautiful view of it, like that is a wonderful luxury. But when we say getting sunrise, we mean going out, just stepping outside into the light and getting those bare eyes in that light, regardless of the weather.
Doesn't matter if it's snowing.
Yep, doesn't matter. The weather. Yep, exactly. So, Shirley, I want to thank you so much. We are at our time, and this is the time where we ask our signature question, which is, what does quantum healthy mean to you?
Quantum healthy, what does it mean to me? Well, it means syncing with morning light, natural light, as you say, whether it's cloudy, sunny, rainy, or snowy, as that first light that your naked eyes see.
Mhm.
It means blocking artificial light at night because we now know from so much research, you know, Dr. Martin Moreed, I write about it in the book, that LED light should come with a warning, may be harmful if used at night. So for me, quantum healthy is blocking artificial light at night, especially in the wintertime here. Eating seasonally and locally. Eating outside if you can, eating your meals outside. Lowering your exposure to non-native EMFs. What else does it mean? That's about it. And
Yeah.
I hope one day to be quantumly healthy.
Oh, I think if you don't feel like you're there, I think you're very much on your way. But I would say you are quantum healthy.
And it might just take some time with that quality sleep and getting,
Of course.
now that you've conquered that, that's, sky's the limit, I think.
Exactly.
It just may be time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, keeping that environment always, in mind. And we didn't touch on it, but we know you're doing some other things with energy medicine and meditation. And, that brings another form of light into the body. So keep going with that.
Yeah, and nervous system regulation, I think, is key for a lot of people with chronic illness as well, because it really does involve the limbic system, and that's another topic. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Shirley, how can people find you, and what offerings would you like, other than like where can they find the ebook is another thing, and any other offerings you have?
The ebook is available on Amazon, and actually the title is Finally Asleep, a step-by-step guide to overcoming insomnia. We decided on that instead of the quantum because I didn't know if people would know what quantum was. And I'm always running an online 7-day challenge, which people can come to my website, shirleyplant.com, or they can come to the Facebook group Curing Insomnia Naturally, sign up for the online challenge. And what that is literally you get an email every day for 7 days, and it's just going to guide you so effortlessly through how to get out, what to do, to get out at sunrise and UVA rise. They'll learn about blue blocking glasses, the science behind living quantumly and having a dysregulated circadian rhythm. So yeah, those are the offerings.
Awesome.
Shirley, I want to take a few minutes here to thank you, because what you've shared today has been pretty powerful, and I really am excited. I think Andy and I, we're smiling because we're excited about the people that are going to hear this and are going to benefit. First, thank you for quantum entangling with both of us today, but for me personally, because I know you're crediting me with introducing you to the quantum biology health strategies, but you've also taught me a lot in our journey. And thank you for not giving up, finding your cure with it. And here today it's insomnia. So the other part's going to come. Don't give up. Thank you for focusing so much of your passion on helping, and just helping the people with some of these silent injuries, or I hate to call them diseases, but things, like food sensitivities, autoimmune, conditions. Thank you for documenting your journey with sleep. Everybody's going to learn. And lastly, thank you for emphasizing the light diet, not just the food diet. And I think we have a title of a new documentary, and we would call it Artificially Overlit and Undernourished with Sunlight. Here we go.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Shirley, for being with us today, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this podcast. We want to thank our sponsor, VIVARAYS, who allows for us to get this information to you. They offer top-of-the-line blue blocking glasses, which, as we know, are critical for our health these days for blocking artificial light at night. Over 90% of our time is spent indoors under artificial lights, and this puts us all prone to circadian rhythm disruption. You can use the code QUANTUMHEALTHY for a discount. Link is in the show notes.
Thank you so much for listening to the Quantum Healthy podcast. We hope you found some value in this information. And if you feel inspired, please share it and leave us a 5-star review. This will help us reach so many more people. If you want to connect with Laura, you can find her at laurakissmanwellness.com and Andeea at andeearay.com. Links are below in the show notes. Now, go find some sunlight and embrace your own quantum healthy.